There is a war happening inside you right now, and it has been happening every single day of your life, whether you have noticed it or not. It has no armies, no visible battlefield, no headlines announcing its casualties. It is fought entirely in silence, in the space of a single decision made 1,000 times a day, and its outcome will determine more about your final destiny than any external circumstance you could ever name. This is the war between who you are and who you are capable of becoming, and unlike every other war in human history, this one cannot be avoided, cannot be delegated, and cannot be won by anyone but you. Most people never learn to name this war, and because they cannot name it, they cannot fight it deliberately. They experience its symptoms, the resistance to the workout they know they should complete, the procrastination on the project they know matters, the small surrender to comfort when discipline was required, without ever understanding that these are not isolated incidents. They are skirmishes in a much larger, much older conflict, one that has been raging inside every human being since the first person looked at their circumstances and dared to imagine something greater than what they had been given. Understand the two combatants clearly, because you cannot win a war against an enemy you refuse to identify. On one side stands the self that already exists, comfortable, familiar, fully formed, requiring no further effort to maintain. This self does not need to be built. It simply needs to be protected, defended, kept exactly as it is, because change of any kind represents a threat to its continued existence. This is not a villain in the traditional sense. It is simply the part of you engineered by millions of years of evolutionary programming to conserve energy, avoid unnecessary risk, and prioritize the safety of the known over the uncertainty of the unknown. It served your ancestors well when survival depended on caution. On the other side stands a self that does not yet exist, a version of you built from discipline not yet practiced, courage not yet summoned, standards not yet upheld consistently enough to become identity. This self has no defenders except the one you choose to become in each individual moment of decision. Every single day, this self must be built again, chosen again, fought for again, because it has not yet accumulated enough repetition to defend itself the way the existing self can. This is the first truth about the silent war. It is fought in moments so small they rarely feel significant at the time. It is fought in the moment you decide whether to hit snooze or rise when the alarm sounds. It is fought in the moment you decide whether to open the book or open the app that offers easier, more immediate stimulation. Each of these moments, in isolation, seems too small to matter. This is precisely the illusion that allows the existing self to win so consistently, because no single surrender feels significant enough to justify the discomfort of resistance. But you are not fighting single battles. You are fighting a pattern, and patterns are built one indistinguishable moment at a time. Napoleon Hill understood this dynamic when he wrote about the necessity of definite purpose backed by burning desire, because he recognized that ambition alone, however sincere, is insufficient to win a war fought at this granular level. Wanting to be disciplined is not the same as being disciplined in the actual moment discipline is required. The gap between wanting and doing is precisely where the silent war is lost or won, moment by moment, and no amount of inspiration consumed in a comfortable, motivated state will automatically transfer into the discomfort of the actual moment of decision. This should not be received as discouraging news, though it may initially feel that way. It should be received as liberation from the exhausting expectation that you are somehow failing because the war continues. The war continuing is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of continued growth, and the alternative, a life in which this war has fully ended, is not the peaceful success you might imagine, but a quiet, comfortable surrender to whatever level you have already reached. The most successful, fulfilled individuals across history did not escape this war. They simply became skilled at fighting it, expecting it, and refusing to interpret its continued presence as a referendum on their own worth or capability. So here is what must be done, starting today, in this exact moment. Identify the specific battlefield where this war is currently costing you the most, the specific moment of daily decision where the existing self most reliably defeats the self you are trying to build. Make the decision in advance, with total finality, exactly what you will do the next time that moment arrives, removing the exhausting requirement of relitigating the decision fresh each time based on how you happen to feel. Expect resistance to continue, and refuse to interpret its continued presence as evidence that you are somehow doing this wrong. And when you experience a collapse, as you inevitably will at some point, refuse to interpret that single lost battle as evidence that the entire war is unwinnable, because the war has never been won or lost by any single battle. It is won, slowly, invisibly, through the accumulation of small victories that eventually compound into an identity strong enough to make the daily war far less costly than it once was. This is the silent war you have been fighting your entire life, whether you named it or not. It will continue for as long as you continue growing, and this is not a burden to escape but a privilege available to anyone.